My name is Clara. I am 34 years old and work as a primary school teacher in Norwich, England. I have been married to Mark for 9 years. He is a quiet, thoughtful engineer. People often describe him as a man who prefers listening to speaking. They are correct. He listens, he forgives, and he places his complete trust in me. Yet, for nearly a decade, I have concealed a part of my life from him. It was never my intention to deceive him. I never planned for my life to unfold this way. But sometimes a single error multiplies until it forms the foundation of your entire existence. Before I knew Mark, I loved another man. His name was Jax. We met in my final year of university. He had a booming laugh and unrestrained ideas. He was nothing like the cautious, reserved people I was raised around. Jax was a thrill. He dreamed of launching his own company, exploring the globe, and living without constraints. I adored that about him. With him, I felt liberated. Our relationship lasted 2 years. We imagined relocating to Manchester and building a future together. However, my family disapproved of him, and his parents disapproved of me. They insisted we were incompatible. Our beliefs, our ambitions, our very worlds were too far apart. I battled for us, but Jax began to withdraw. He grew remote. Then, one day, he vanished. He left without a single word. I called, but his number was disconnected. I wrote messages and emails. There was only silence in return. I felt as if my heart had shattered. A few weeks after Jax disappeared, I discovered I was pregnant. I sat trembling on the bathroom floor, the test gripped in my hand. My parents would never welcome a grandchild from a man they rejected. I had no idea where Jax was or if he would even want this child. So, I said nothing. I wept for days before attempting to continue with my life. It was then that Mark entered it. He was gentle and steady, the opposite of Jax. A family friend introduced us at a dinner. I did not tell him about the pregnancy. I told no one. I was terrified. But Mark was drawn to me. He began to visit frequently, bringing little presents and inquiring about my day. I was not in love with him, not at first, but he represented security. When he proposed, I accepted. I convinced myself that love could grow. I thought perhaps love wasn't solely about fierce passion, perhaps it could also be about profound kindness. We married swiftly. I told Mark the baby was his. He believed me without question. His joy was overwhelming. When Liam was born, he cradled him as if he had been anticipating that moment forever. "He's perfect," he whispered. "He's ours." I longed to shout the truth, but I remained silent. I watched him change nappies, prepare bottles, and lose sleep to rock Liam through the night. Each day, he gave his entire heart to our son. Each day, my secret grew heavier. As Liam got older, I began to see traces of Jax in him. The dark hair, the defined chin, the particular smile when he was pleased. Mark never noticed. He always said Liam took after me. Perhaps there was a slight resemblance, but I knew the reality. Every time Mark kissed Liam's forehead or called him my little man, I felt a pang of guilt. I knew our family's love was constructed atop my lie. The years went by. We settled into the rhythm of a typical family. Sunday trips to the park, photo sessions at the beach, birthday parties with cake and balloons. Mark never once expressed a doubt. He was a wonderful husband, even during the times I felt I didn't merit it. I was a devoted mother, always striving to do my best, yet the shame was a constant companion. One Saturday, our world shifted. Liam was playing in a school football match. Mark and I were cheering from the sidelines as he dashed across the pitch. Suddenly, without any sign, he fell to the ground and lay still. The coach sprinted towards him. I screamed. Mark rushed over and gathered our son in his arms. An ambulance arrived, and we trailed it to the hospital. The doctors stated Liam urgently needed a blood transfusion. They tested Mark's blood first. He consented immediately. But the doctor later returned with a perplexed expression. "Are you certain you're the father?" he inquired. Mark was stunned. I turned to ice. The doctor clarified that their blood types were incompatible, making it a biological impossibility. Mark was silent, sinking into a chair with his eyes fixed on the floor. That night, I confessed everything. I told him about Jax, how I learned of the pregnancy, and the reasons for my deception. I sobbed through the entire story. He listened without interruption. When I finished, he stood and walked into Liam's room without a word to me. I remained alone in the corridor. In the following days, we spoke very little. Mark focused entirely on Liam's care, and I lingered on the periphery. I was uncertain of everything, including whether he would leave. But he did not. He stayed. Liam was discharged a few days later, still weary but recovering. One afternoon, the school called. Liam had struck another child. We were astounded. He had never behaved violently. When Mark questioned him, Liam explained, "He told me, 'You're not my real dad.'" My heart plummeted. I glanced at Mark, but he was composed. He simply nodded, hugged Liam tightly, and said, "That isn't true. I am your dad in every way that counts." That evening, I stepped outside for air. The night was overcast and dense. As I moved to go back in, a car arrived. A man emerged, and my legs weakened. It was Jax. He appeared older, wearier, but undeniably himself. He approached me. "He's mine, isn't he?" he demanded. I was speechless, breathless. He didn't require a reply. He stated, "I want to see him. I want to know my son." This was not a request. It was an ultimatum. In an instant, the secret I had guarded for so long was no longer mine alone. Jax wanted answers, and more alarmingly, he wanted paternal rights. I was paralyzed, knowing our lives were about to change irrevocably.
Jax didn't yell, but his posture was sharp and unyielding, making my hands tremble. He had been absent for every one of Liam's days, yet he stood there asserting a right to our lives. "I've been watching," he stated. "I know the boy is mine." I didn't confirm or deny it. My terrified silence was all the answer he needed. He saw the confession in my eyes. "I want a DNA test," he continued. "If he's my son, I will provide for him properly." My legs felt unsteady. Jax had abandoned me when I was most vulnerable, without a backward glance. Now he was returning not for me, but to claim the child he'd never known. I was speechless. Then I heard the front door open behind me. Mark stood there, a coffee mug in his hand. He took in the scene, Jax, my pale face, and comprehended it all instantly. The three of us stood frozen in the garden. Jax addressed Mark directly. "We need to talk," he said. Mark gave a terse nod and moved aside. "Come in," he replied, his tone level but icy. Inside, Jax perched on the sofa's edge, while Mark remained standing by the window. I hovered in the kitchen doorway, feeling like a guest in my own home. "I have a right to know my son," Jax declared. "You can despise me, but you can't stop me." Mark didn't flinch. "You have no concept of who that boy is. You missed his first steps. You weren't there for his nightmares. You didn't teach him to sing or tie his laces. Jax's expression hardened. That wasn't my choice. I didn't know. She never told me. A crushing wave of shame hit me. He was right. The choice to hide the truth had been mine. You left. You vanished. I was pregnant and completely alone. I had no way to find you. I would have returned, Jax said, turning to me, if I'd known. I wasn't prepared then, but I am now. Mark let out a quiet, humorless laugh. How convenient. We've done all the difficult work. You don't get to appear now and play the hero. Jax rose to his feet. Then let's make it official. I want a test. If he's mine, I'll file for shared custody. I'll involve the courts if necessary. The words court and custody made my head spin. I had never envisioned it escalating this far. Mark looked at me. Is this what you want? To reduce Liam to a legal battle? No, I said quickly. Never. Jax countered, then you will grant me what I'm asking for. The subsequent days passed in a stressful haze. My appetite vanished, and sleep was elusive. I feared for Liam, terrified this conflict would shatter his world. We consulted a family lawyer who confirmed that if Jax established paternity, he could petition for visitation or even joint custody. Mark grew distant, retreating behind a wall of quiet resolve. One night, I dared to ask him, "Do you still want this? Do you still love me?" He looked at me for a long moment. "I love Liam," he answered. "That is my priority right now." The DNA test was arranged. At the clinic, I sat with Liam, reassuring him it was a routine checkup as the nurses took samples from both men. Lying to him again was agonizing. A week later, the results confirmed. Jax was the biological father. Seeing it in print was a visceral blow. Mark read the report and set it down without a word. Jax was granted visitation every other Saturday. It felt like a door had been opened that we could never close. The first time Liam went with him, it was surreal. Liam was confused but compliant. He returned talking about the zoo and ice cream. I smiled, but a deep unease settled within me. Then, after a few visits, Liam asked Mark, "Are you still my dad?" Mark's grip tightened on his mug. "Always," he said. "Why would you ask?" Liam looked at his feet. "Jax said he's my real dad. He said I came from him." I was furious, but I stayed quiet. I watched Mark kneel to meet Liam's gaze. "Listen to me," he said firmly. "A real dad is defined by his presence, not just biology. A real dad stays. He loves you daily. I am your dad because I have always been here for you, and I always will be." Liam hugged him tightly, and I wept silently in the kitchen. After that, Mark became more guarded. He barred Jax from our home and spoke to me less. Our marriage was fracturing, not from a lack of care, but from an inability to bridge the chasm my lie had created. I proposed therapy. Mark was initially resistant. "What good will it do? We can't change the past, but we can learn to heal," I pleaded. "For Liam, for us." He reluctantly agreed. Our therapist, Helen, was compassionate yet direct. She guided us through difficult conversations, forcing us to voice years of buried pain. I confessed every fear and regret to Mark. He shared how isolated and betrayed he had felt, and how he had stayed only for Liam. During one session, Helen asked, "Mark, what is your deepest desire in all of this?" After a long pause, he said, "I want to be Liam's father in the eyes of the law, not just in my heart. I want to adopt him." I was stunned. "Are you certain?" "It is the most certain I have ever been," he affirmed. Jax initially refused. "He is my son," he argued. "You cannot replace me." Mark's response was calm. "This isn't about replacement. It is about choosing stability. Liam needs a father who is present every single day. Eventually, Jax relented. If it's what's best for Liam, I won't block it. The adoption was finalized when Liam was 8. At the courthouse, I held their hands. Liam beamed at Mark and said, "Now you're officially my dad." Mark's eyes glistened with tears. "I always have been," he whispered. Jax's visits ceased. A birthday card arrived one year, then nothing more. Perhaps he finally understood. Perhaps he let go. Mark and I continued therapy. Healing is a slow journey, and trust rebuilds even slower. We are still together, still trying. Some days are a struggle, but then we see Liam growing into a kind, intelligent boy, and we remember why we fight for our family. I once asked Mark, "Why did you choose to stay?" He replied, "Because I committed to this family, and because true love is not defined by blood, but by the choice to be present, even on the most painful days." After the adoption, a new, more honest chapter began. The secrets were gone, but truth doesn't erase pain instantly. We had to rediscover each other. I started noticing the small things Mark did, meticulously folding Liam's clothes, proofreading his homework, his proud smile at a crayon drawing. These everyday acts of love shone brighter than ever before. There were still difficult days when Mark was quiet and withdrawn. I never pressured him to hurry his healing. I was just grateful he chose to stay. Liam, sensing the shift, once asked, "Was this all my fault?" The question shattered me. I held him close. "No, my love. You are the best part of our lives. The mistakes were ours, never yours." I began explaining our family story in simple terms. I told him families are built with love in many different ways, that what connects people is commitment, not just DNA, that Mark chose him, which is the most powerful love of all. Liam seemed to understand. He once told me, "I don't want Jax to visit anymore. He feels like a stranger, and home isn't made of strangers." His wisdom, late one night, left me in thoughtful silence. In therapy, I asked Mark if he had forgiven me. He said, "I am working on it. Some days I still feel like I built my life on a fault line." "Then let's rebuild it together," I suggested, one solid brick at a time. And we did. We consciously created new joyful memories. A summer trip to Cornwall, collecting stones on the beach, laughing as Liam splashed in the cold waves. In our photos, Mark's hand is always resting protectively on Liam's shoulder, a silent testament to their bond. The most profound moment came a year later at Liam's 9th birthday party. After the festivities, he stood on a chair and announced, "My family isn't perfect, but it's my family and I love it." The room applauded. I held Mark's hand, my heart full. That evening, after Liam was asleep, Mark and I sat with our tea. "He's incredible," I said. Mark nodded, then shared a revelation. "I used to believe love was a feeling that just existed. Now I know it's a conscious decision, a difficult one. And I choose to choose you. I choose both of you, every day." Tears filled my eyes. After everything, he was choosing us not in spite of our past, but because of the future we were building together. We didn't need more words that night. Some truths are communicated in quiet moments, in shared glances, in the simple comfort of shared silence. Nearly 2 years later, I saw Jax in a supermarket. He was in the bread aisle. He approached and asked, "How is he?" I said, "He's well. He's happy and deeply loved." Jax looked weary. He admitted, "I thought I was ready to be a father, but I was wrong. He already had a dad. I was just blind to see it." I remained silent. Some paths are not meant to be revisited. "Thank you," he added, "for everything you've both done for him." With a nod, he walked away, disappearing from our lives once more. I told Mark about the encounter. He was calm. He said, "That chapter is closed." And it was. 3 years have now passed since the truth emerged in that hospital. The day our old world ended and a new, more authentic one began. Our marriage isn't a fairy tale. It is a constant, conscious effort. But our home is filled with warmth and laughter again. We share meals, communicate more openly, apologize quickly, and express gratitude often. We remind Liam daily that he is cherished, wanted, and absolutely enough. I sometimes reflect on the past and my regrets, but I focus on the present, knowing that the painful truth ultimately set us free, even though it nearly broke us first. If you are hearing my story and also carry the weight of a mistake, please remember you are not alone. We all have parts of our history we wish we could change, but redemption begins with honesty. And sometimes love doesn't walk away. Sometimes, if you are very lucky, it chooses to stay and fight for you.